R. Adolph of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. If everyone could please silence your phone and stand for the prayer, and then after that, salute to the nation's flag.
Heads are bowed and hearts are humbled. Unto thee, O God, do we place our trust. Earnestly, humbly, and faithfully, we've come into your presence. God, as I approach you, I cannot help but do so with both faith and fear. Fear, O God, in that you move and men die. Faith in that your favor rests upon us as a city, collectively and individually. So I begin my petitions for our city by telling you thank you so much for being so sweet, so kind, and so merciful. I thank you publicly, O God, for the blessings you bestowed upon us that money cannot buy, checks will not write, and credit cards will never charge. We are grateful to be in the city of Beaumont. We're honored, O God, to be able to bow in this moment of invocation and consecration to ask your blessing upon city leaders as they've governed themselves and come together for the cause of the betterment of our city. And so, Father, my prayer today before you is this, that you create for us a harmonious, synergistic people, O God, who can love each other and partner with each other for the greater good of everyone involved. How thankful we are, Lord, that we are all different. We come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different creeds, different educational pedagogy, and the like. But today, O Lord, weave for yourself a masterful quilt made up of different peoples, but different cultures, different backgrounds, but one real goal in mind, to satisfy you and build a better city. Bless our mayor in her absence, our mayor pro tem in his presence, and for all of those, oh God, who stand today as elected officials whose voices matter so much to the people who put them in office. And God, would you please bless those who are part of the collective staff and every citizen that makes Beaumont the greatest city in this country. Bless us and favor us in a continued like fashion is our petition and prayer. In the name of Jesus, who is my Lord and Savior, I petition heaven. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Mouton absent. Mayor Pro Tem Durio.
Here.
Councilmember GETZ.
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Felshaw.
Present.
Councilmember Samuel.
Present.
And Councilmember Neal.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. The mayor is not here today. She was asked to serve as a delegate to the Texas Municipal League Municipal Policy Summit, so you guys get me. Okay, we have no presentations, proclamations, or recognitions today. Now is the time for any citizen who wishes to speak on the consent agenda or items 3 and 4. Please complete a green slip and hand it to the city clerk. The clerk will call your name when it's your time to speak. We appreciate if you keep your comments to 3 minutes. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up.
We don't have any at this time, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so is there a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda? But I do understand we're going to have to vote on item D separately.
Move to approve.
Second.
A, B, and C.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda except for item D, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, Mr. Manager, item D.
Yes, sir. Mayor and Council, item D on the consent is the council to consider a resolution approving contracts for the purchase of janitorial supplies. Bids were solicited for a 6-month contract to supply various janitorial supplies, paper products, and trash liners for use by multiple city departments. Specifications allow for 2 additional 6-month extension at the same pricing as the original term. Bids were requested from 12 vendors and 2 responses were received. Specifications stated that the city would award the contract to multiple vendors as deemed to be in the best interest of the city. The specifications were divided into 3 sections, and you'll see those outlined in your agenda item. Sanitary Supply of Beaumont submitted the lowest qualified bid for Section 1 in the amount of $38,393.40. Matera Paper Company of Houston submitted the lowest qualified bid for Section 2 in the amount of $11,189.87. And there's a change from your agenda item. Originally, Section 3 of the bid was to also go to Matera of Houston. However, Sanitary Supply of Beaumont did submit a local bidder preference, and they did fall under that category, and as such, we are recommending that Section 3 of the bid also go to the local Sanitary Supply of Beaumont. And based on that, the administration is recommending approval of this item.
Thank you. So can I have a motion for approval for D?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question too.
Councilman Turner?
Mr. Boone, can you explain to the community when you say the local bid, can you explain to them and give them more knowledge on what that consists of and how that works?
Yes, sir. I may rely on our CFO, but essentially, state law does allow us to award a bid that may be a little bit higher amount if it's a local bidder. However, it's got to be within a certain percentage, and depending on the type of bid and the amount of the bid, that percentage can change. In this case, it fell within that amount, and so therefore we are able to award it to a local bidder.
And when I look at item number 2, I see those numbers are pretty close. What was the difference in the local bid for that one, Todd, if you don't mind?
So since these are awarded for an amount under $500,000, the price difference has to be greater than 5% or within 5% to do that award. The bid in Section 2 was greater than 5%, so they don't qualify for the local bidder's preference.
Thank you. Makes sense. Appreciate you.
Councilman Neal?
I'm good, thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Okay. Manager, may I have the reading of item number 1, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 1 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance granting a specific use permit to allow a dwelling unit and law office in the Central Business District CBD for the property located at 681 Park Street in the city of Beaumont, Jefferson County, Texas. Jonathan Vernon proposes a new construction with mixed uses for the property located at 681 Park Street to include a 2-bedroom dwelling unit combined with a law office. At a joint public hearing held August 15th, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended 5-0 to approve the request for a specific use permit, subject to one condition, and that is construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow, pre-treatment, and/or fog program, as well as all applicable building and fire codes. The administration recommends approval of this item with the same condition.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve with condition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May we have the reading of item number 2, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 2 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance granting a specific use permit to allow a railroad spur in an RS residential single-family dwelling district for property located on the northeast and west sides of the 600 block of Amarillo Street and the south side of the 2600 block of Fannin Street in the city of Beaumont, Jefferson County, Texas. BNSF Railway Company is requesting a specific use permit to allow a new railroad spur south of Fannin Street and east of 4th Street Some of that area, specifically the northeast and west sides of the 600 block of Amarillo Street and the south side of the 2600 block of Fannin Street, are currently zoned RS residential single-family zoning, and thus the specific use permit is required. At a joint public hearing held on August 15th, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve the request for a specific use permit with the following conditions. Number one, construct an 8-foot tall brick or masonry wall or berm along the east edge of the new railroad tracks adjacent to existing residential properties. Number two, a 10-foot wide landscape strip with trees along the west perimeter of the new railroad track outside of the required wall or berm where the existing trees cannot be preserved. Number three, contingent on approval by the planning office, BNSF participate in the city's rail crossing enhancement program by permitting pedestrian crossing at BNSF's rail line at Riverfront Park. And then four, add trees abutting the proposed wall adjacent to the existing residential property. And the administration recommends approval of this item with the same conditions.
Okay. Can I have a motion for approval of this item?
Move to approve with the conditions.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mike can go first.
Councilman Getz?
I guess this might be a question, I don't know for either Bart or Chris, but the railroad track that crosses East Lucas near the crossing apartments, do we know what railroad has that?
The one over by, Miller Library, not Miller Library, Willard Library,
Yes.
that's BNSF.
Okay. I don't know if you've had discussions with them. I know that there's been some talk in the community about the need to have a pedestrian walkway across that railroad crossing, for the sidewalks. Is that something that we could attach as another condition of this, or is that something that you've independently?
There's no need. TxDOT's doing a safety improvement project for that crossing with BNSF. We were in discussions with both TxDOT and BNSF is willing to allow for a pedestrian crossing to be put in when they do those safety improvements, as long as the city connects to the panels they put in place for the pedestrian crossing and extend and connect to our existing sidewalks, which we've told them we're willing to do. So we're just waiting for them to initiate construction on that project. Then we'll do our part to connect into it, and we'll have a pedestrian crossing there.
Do you have any kind of idea of a timetable?
No, I don't have an exact time. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Turner?
If possible, Bart, just to piggyback on that, I know we don't have an idea of a timetable, but if we can see if we can get a rough estimation of what we're looking like with that project. You know, a lot of citizens have inquired about it and asked about it.
I can go so far as to when we get a construction schedule to pass it along, but the back and forth between BNSF and TxDOT on the approval, I don't have any way to judge how long that takes. That can take 6-9 months. I mean, they just run on a slower pace on some of that stuff. But it is approved, it's funded, it's underway. It will happen.
Okay. My second question is, Chris, I know we're talking about working with BNSF to help them do some expansion and some things of that magnitude, but an issue with BNSF that's been consistently coming up throughout the community is them properly grooming the grass along the rail yards. Is there any kind of way this can be addressed? You know, we're all for working together, but, you know, the citizens have been complaining pretty consistently about how high that grass is getting along the rail yards, and I think this would be a good time if somebody's here to at least discuss addressing it.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of a constant issue. I will say that we tend to get good response, especially at intersections where there's a visibility problem, you know, for traffic. And usually we have a pretty good relationship to when we call and ask, they'll cut it. It's usually not to our, as frequently as we'd like. But yeah, again, I think any opportunity to work with BNSF to try to be better partners would be a good thing.
Yeah, we all for, working together, but I had citizens call, like they got kids who play towards their backyards and that grass is high, all kinds of animals and different type of insects can come out of it. So I think in all fairness, we both want to be good partners to each other in the community.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay. All in favor of approving item number 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item passes. May we have the reading of item number 3, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 3 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 20, Section 20.03.004 of the Code of Ordinances of Beaumont, Texas by restructuring the school zone speed limit list, providing for severability, providing for repeal, and providing for a penalty. Staff is recommending changes to the speed limit decreased in school zone section of this portion of the ordinance. The proposed change is to delete the schedule column that describes the exact times for the school zones per each school. This change is requested to facilitate the annual changes to school hours of operation without having to further amend the ordinance each school year. Staff recommends replacing the second paragraph of this section with the following language. In accordance with this section, and when signs are erected giving notice thereof, the prima facie speed limit shall be 20 miles per hour for each school zone, Monday through Friday, on school days. All existing school zone times are set so that the zones are active 45 minutes prior to the first activity of the day and extend 30 minutes past the first bell. In the afternoon, the zones are active 30 minutes prior to the closing bell and for 45 minutes after the closing bell as provided by the schools. Administration is recommending of this item, approval of this item.
Is there a motion? So moved for approval. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May we have a reading number 4, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 4 is to consider a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to provide additional funding and TxDOT concurrence to award a contract to Vaca Underground Utilities, Inc. of Houston for the 2020 Highway Safety Improvements Program, or HSIP, Interconnect Signals project. You may recall on June 28, 2022, by Resolution 22-160, City Council authorized the interim city manager to amend the advanced funding agreement with TxDOT to alter the scope of work for the 2020 HSIP Interconnect Signals project. The scope of work for this project is described as interconnecting signals on 4th Street from Calder Avenue to Sarah and Gladys from Edson to Central. Vaca Underground Utilities, the apparent low bidder, submitted a bid totaling $850,170. The maximum federal and state contribution for this project is $660,290. Therefore, the city will be expected to fund the balance of $189,880. City staff recommends approval of this item. Funds are available in the capital program. Again, we do recommend approval.
Can I have a motion for approval of item number 4?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now is the time for any citizen who wishes to speak. If you would like to make a public comment, please complete a green slip and hand it to the city clerk. The clerk will call your name when it's your time to speak. We would appreciate if you could keep your comments to 3 minutes. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up.
Tony Renfro, 6110 Bankston Lane, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to ask a very special permission today. I just couldn't compress. Don't take no clock. Let me explain this for me first. I couldn't compress my address today within 3 minutes, and it's very important that I express this to the council and mayor in her absence. My name is Tony Renfro. I'm a businessman and podcaster for Knowledge is Power podcast. Today is a new chapter here in Beaumont, Texas. We now have a breath of fresh air, and this is just the beginning. I want to compliment you, the council, and the mayor in her absence for making some of the hardest and stressful major decisions in these past several months. Sometimes making decisions comes with obstacles and adversities. I always say everyone may have a different opinion about things, but it is how you come together, putting your heads and thinking cap on, and adjust with one another with a common goal, and that common goal is to make the most sound sense decision to solve the situation and develop a common ground to come out with the best solution and decision for the betterment of the city and citizen of Beaumont, Texas. This past election, we elected 2 new council members, Mr. A.J. Turner at large and Mr. Chris Durio, Ward 4, and our newly mayor, Robin Mouton. They were met and faced adversity. You guys stepped in and stepped right into the middle of the COVID pandemic, ongoing city issues, lawsuits, brown water issue, and a dysfunctional waterworks department, and most importantly, the famous 555 Main Street, which is to this day I still can't comprehend. The newly councilman and mayor, you teamed up with the current councilman and worked yourself into learning a job on the fly as a city councilman. You all have made some big strides and achieved some great heights, and then the 2 most important components of the city council, the city manager and the city attorney, announced their retirement. Mr. Boone, Mr. Chris Boone, you was chosen by the council. You picked up the baton as the interim city manager and held your own. I want to personally thank you, sir, for an outstanding job. This is a moment of applause because the councilman and the mayor together, you guys have done an outstanding job. And I want to thank you for hiring one of the most young, smart, brilliant, energetic city attorney, Mrs. Sari Reed. And on last week, you made the most brightest, innovative hiring ever to the city of Beaumont to serve as our new city manager, Mr. Kenneth Williams. For the first time, I feel good about the direction the city has taken, and I see progress for the future, but we still have a long ways to go. We still have a long ways to go. And this is just the beginning. However, I must address 2 concerns of mine. 2 concerns. 1, I happened to be reading and studying the city charter, and something jumped out at me off the page. That read in the city charter, the stipends for the city councilman and mayor have not been revised nor updated since 1986. That is almost 3 decades ago, and the city council and mayor is serving us and operating on stipends from 36 years ago. That equate to $4.35 an hour compared to today's average administrative stipends.
But
And-
how much longer you gonna be, Tony?
I want to 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds. And compare today average administrative stipends as well below compared to other cities our size, and that is not including today's cost of living, which is a all-time high. Let me say this to the citizens of Beaumont who may think otherwise, that the council members and mayor do not earn a salary from the city. They are given a small stipend. Today, I will endorse and support a recommendation that the council to discuss and place on the docket a revised, up-to-date city charter
That's,
for an increase of stipends.
I'm glad to stop you right there. Thank you.
Scott James Andrews, 2085 Long Street, Beaumont, Texas.
I have cataracts. I have to put these glasses down. I'm a U.S. Navy compensated Special Forces vet. Since moving here, it's the first time I got to address your city council. My nose is broken because one of your thugs is in the county jail. My phone was stolen this week. My CPAP, no, not my CPAP, my albuterol inhaler. I invite any of you politicians, I agree with this man. I'm gonna say this, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, hence establish a blessing and liberty. One of your cops named Davis profiled me twice. I don't appreciate that. I am not angry. I know who I am in Christ. That thug, I see him again, on God, I'm walking to the police station after leave here. I invite you, any of you gentlemen, to walk with me, Boudreaux and Thibodeau. I know my phone number by heart, but I walked here as fast as I could to get here today for the first time y'all didn't cancel it. You know why you have it at 1:30 every day? It's only retired people can be here. I respect this, Mayor. I am now a registered voter. Any man who's bold enough to walk with Boudreaux and Thibodeau, I welcome. Enough said.
Thank you for your service.
That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
That's it. Okay. Now it's time for any councilmen or council people that would like to speak. Starting off with you, Councilman GETZ.
No comment.
Councilman Turner.
Yes, sir. Mr. Boone, I know we marketed a capital plan work session today, and I understand we did cancel it, but if possible in the future, if we cancel something like that, can we just put a notice out on Facebook just to inform citizens? A few people contacted me prior to the meeting expecting to come and hear some things about it, and I notified them that it was canceled today.
Sure.
The second thing is, this is my first time going over a budget with the city of Beaumont, and this budget is roughly 269 pages. I know we got it, man, not too long ago, and I think we're in the future. Can we kind of look at getting into the budget a little bit earlier than what we're getting into it? I even looked at Baytown. They actually do budget work sessions with the city council and department heads way prior to, it's time to actually vote on it. So if we can kind of consider that in the future so we can get a clear understanding of all the decisions and the inner working parts. I know when we did the CBDG funding, the groups actually came in front of us and advocated and told us their plan, their vision, and what they were trying to do prior to getting the funding, and that was a lot less than some of the department budgets we're approving. So in all fairness, in the future, if we can, just get a little bit more insight and get the information in a more timely manner. Thank you.
Councilman Felshaw.
Just Mayor Pro Tem, well done in chairing the meeting today.
Thank you. Councilman Samuel.
Nothing.
Councilman Taylor.
Mayor Pro Tem, could I have my time back? I just thought of something based on Councilman Turner's remark. When we canceled the hearing today that was previously scheduled on the capital plan, we're required to post that in the newspaper within a certain number of days before the meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
How many days ahead of time?
10 days.
10 days? Okay. So I'm just wondering, because we already spent money on the advertisement for that, we had to go back and re-advertise. And we put it in the Beaumont Enterprise instead of the Examiner. Were we not able to meet the 10-day deadline to get it back in the Enterprise? The Examiner?
So we tried to get in the Examiner on Thursday, but they didn't want to honor that request. And then the Beaumont Enterprise was going to try for Friday, but then it ended up being a Saturday.
Yeah, with the Examiner being a weekly, the deadlines are a little more strict.
Okay. All right. I just know it's a lot more expensive to advertise in the Enterprise than the Examiner, and it cost us a lot more money. So,
Right. We wouldn't have met the deadline if we waited for the Examiner.
Got it. Thank you.
Mrs. Reed.
No, thank you.
Mr. Boone.
Nothing, thank you.
I want to thank all you guys for coming. Hope I didn't do too bad a job. And, okay. If there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.
Wow. Made a record, bro. I'm telling you.